everybody. Welcome to Author Showcase of Oshkosh. I'm Bill Gillard. I'm an English professor, if I can say it, at UW Oshkosh. Happy to be here. This is a program where we interview local authors, regional authors, and talk to them about their lives, their writing process, their books, their future plans. And this is my partner, co-host, Tom Cannon.
Tom Cannon, your friendly neighborhood Oshkosh writer. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. And we'll be seeing this mostly on our YouTube channel, and so please like, subscribe, leave a comment, let the authors know that you've seen their video and any comments that you have towards them.
Just wanted to thank Oshkosh Media. We're produced here in the studios of Oshkosh Media, right in downtown Oshkosh, and they do an amazing job. Their facilities here helping community members find their voices and communicate important and, we hope on this show, interesting items. And so a big shout out and thanks to Oshkosh Media.
Absolutely. And our author today is somebody who has a unique perspective and has a whole program and a book, which is why we're here today, about helping people and helping people heal. Brad H. Hill is a writer, speaker, and creator whose work explores the raw and unfiltered sides of the human experience. Through his debut book, No One Is Normal, he challenges the illusion of perfection that society sells us, inviting readers to confront their pain, embrace their truth, and rediscover their own truth. So we're happy to have you today, Brad. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your book?
Well, thanks, Tom. Thanks, Bill. So No One Is Normal started as a journaling venture, right? A lot of what I started writing was short stories telling people about some aspects of my life. So there's pretty intimate details. There's some funny, some pretty serious, and a lot of what I wrote, I started to kind of think about how I could possibly help others. You know, a lot of people are afraid to talk and communicate when there are issues. A lot of people bottle it up, and I started this journey to be able to allow people to, one, read the chapter and then kind of reflect and put their own aspect of their life into the book to be able to see if they can make a positive change from some of the negativity that happened in my life.
That's a really fascinating moment, and I want to focus right on that moment. You said you start off as journaling, and you know, Tom and I journal a lot, and plenty of our viewers do it as well. Plenty of people just journal. But that moment where you said, "I'm writing, and something's happening for me, and I want to share that process with others." How did that happen in your own head when you know, because, you know, we sit and we journal or on the keyboard or whatever,
right.
But to turn it outward like that, what was that decision like?
I was always a writer. Like I got a master's degree, so I was able to perfect some of the writing in college. And I think some of the big things were, as these stories started to kind of accumulate and I started thinking about some of the events in my life, it really kind of struck a chord. Like, I can't be the only person who feels this, you know. We've all got ups, we've all got downs, and I think the big thing for me was, you know, being able to be vulnerable myself so that people could take my vulnerability and maybe open the door for them to communicate their feelings.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about that moment where you decided, I've written down my most intimate, painful incidents, and now I'm going to share it with other people? I mean, what was that process like? What were you thinking, and how were you brave enough to do it?
It's a scary thing.
Yes, and I do, and I think that's one of the when I say you should journal, it's a great way to. I can't share this with anybody, but I can get it down, and then when I'm ready to share, it's right there.
Yeah, that was as soon as I published, I thought, man, what am I doing? Because now everybody's going to know part of my life. You know, there's some things I didn't put in there because it was a little too personal, or, you know, family members. I didn't want to put them in a situation where it would call them out. So I put as much as I could and kind of left myself on the table people to look and poke and prod, and hopefully, they can be like, well, he's just like everybody else, so maybe maybe I can do that as well.
That's a very hard thing. Tom says a very brave thing to do. We'd all love to be the heroes of our own stories, at the forefront, doing the right thing all the time, happy endings and all of that. But your stories are tough. Your stories are tough. And to put them out there into the world, it's a risk. You risk how people see you. And how did that go when you were first getting it out there?
A little unnerving, but I kind of go by the mantra, what people think about me is none of my concern.
Uh-huh.
I can listen to the noise all around me, but it's not going to affect who I am, because everybody's going to have an opinion, whether it's positive, whether it's negative. Talking with people on a podcast, it's kind of the same thing. They are overcoming some of their challenges, and they're really starting to kind of put that perspective into life, and that was what was important for me in the book, just to start that journey, and then it kind of kept built and getting momentum, and kind of as I got through it, because self-publishing, I did it all myself, and it was fun, it was challenging, and to go through that, and after the book went to the audio book, and then started the podcast, so it all kind of just started to kind of snowball, and then I've got people all the way till July booked for interviews, so it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this, because Bill has books, I have books, we have a website, but you seem to have your own mission. You actually have, if you go to Brad H. Hill,
bradhill.com,
you will see he has a vision statement, a mission statement.
Beautiful site, and all the podcasts archived, and it's a very well done site.
Yes, and so you have this paired with a podcast. And so what is your vision, and how do you hope to expand this?
Just reaching people. That's the most important thing to me. I think if it helps one person, I've done my job as an author. To me, there's fiction, there's all kinds of different stories people can tell, but for me, this is the one that really you have to dig in deep if you really want to explore it and start kind of writing some of your tragedies and some of your stories down, to be able to kind of self-reflect. It takes a lot.
Yeah, and so tell us, like, I've been blessed. I've not made mistakes. I don't have trauma in my life.
That ends today, Tom.
Yeah.
Dance monkey, dance.
Yeah. So who's this book for? It's, and what can anybody get out of your book? And especially those that have faced trauma, what can they get out of it?
I think a lot of it is just allowing for self-reflection. A lot of people are always constantly on the go. That mirror looks back at you every day, but you only look in it for a little bit, and you really should be doing a lot more self-reflection daily, and trying to figure out what is going to be the best me that I can put forward.
Yeah, as a father, I mean, the early sections of your book, just harrowing, just really, really tough. Tom probably wants to ask this, because he's a farm boy too. But and we're here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which is the agricultural region in a lot of ways. Can you talk a little bit about? I mean, it's in the book. It's in the book. The childhood experiences, and then how everything flipped moving to the farm. Can you talk about your relationship? We drive 5 miles in any direction. You're on a dairy farm from here. So can you talk a little bit about that moment and your childhood? And I know maybe children aren't primary audience for this, but we've all been children, and your childhood story starts off the book.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, my parents separated, lived with my mom. They kind of had an absent father. Tried to, so just in 7th and 8th grade, both summers, I waited for my dad to come get me. I sat there on the porch with my suitcase. I actually sat outside because I was getting nervous, because I'm like, he's not here yet. Well, I got a phone call the first time. He had a car breakdown. Wasn't going to make it to come get me for the summer. Second
for
time,
the summer.
For the summer, yeah. Second time, he was arrested. So I was like, well, so that was kind of like, you get to that point and you're kind of devastated and you feel like you're not wanted, right? And then fast forward, my mom met my stepdad, who really was my father figure in life, taught me a lot of great things, work ethic, to be a real father. And
how to get up when it's still dark.
How to get up when it's still dark, and then still work when it's dark, and flashlights everywhere so you can get everything done. But that transition from living in a city and kind of not doing anything good to going into a farm by 15 years old, no car, moving about 30 miles away. So it was kind of just like uproot. You're here now, but that's when you kind of started really learning what life is about on the farm. It's you got chores, that's your livelihood, and if it doesn't get done, your livelihood is shot, right?
Mm-hmm. And so your name of your book is No One Is Normal, and you've written it because your mission is to help people to stop hiding and start embracing, themselves and their messy story and stuff. As you were writing, was there some surprising things? Was there a different way of looking at it where, like, you could say, this is good. I was kind of strong here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, when you really journal and look at things again, you write it down, and then when you come back to it, because of course editing, right? You got to sit and reread it over and over and over. Yeah. Sometimes it's like OCD, where you got to make sure you're putting out the best product, and just sitting there and kind of reflecting on all of that, and it felt like a weight was lifted of all the things that you kind of think about. And once this all was kind of said and done, the accomplishment, the book, the podcast, everything else, and it's like I turned something that could have been bad and could have went the other way for myself, turned it into something good for myself and hopefully for others.
Oh, now I get the format of your book where you talk about yourself, and then each chapter ends with some questions for self-discovery.
Yep.
I guess I should have figured that out earlier.
Right, yeah. And the format of the book, and you could talk about this, is it's a story, it's a short story, derived from true events. And each one ends with a reflection that's like for yourself.
Yep.
And then questions that should cause readers to reflect for themselves.
Yep.
That's got to be a late step. Like early on, you didn't know the book was going to turn out like that.
No.
When you landed on that, what was the effect on the process? Were you excited? Was that
it was
wow moment? Like this could be, useful in a very particular way.
Yeah, and I think when I started kind of looking at it, I was asking questions of myself, and I'm like, well, if somebody reads this, maybe they start asking questions. Maybe I'll kind of start that journey for them. And my reflections at the end of the chapter, and then 5, 6, 7 questions of kind of what people can take away from that and kind of add to their life.
Was that hard to construct it like that? I mean, you end up with, how many chapters are there? 25, 30, something like that?
There's like 42.
42, okay.
Yeah. So the last 6 are of my wife.
Right, okay. But to have all those questions at the end of each one, that's the product of a lot of reflection as well.
Yeah, a lot of digging deep and kind of understanding, like, what if I was reading this, what would I want somebody to take out of this, myself included.
Yeah, being able to stand back from yourself and observe yourself, your own life, but then the writing as well, and thinking and putting yourself in the place of the reader. It's brilliant stuff, the way you draw people in, because you don't just say like, bam, here's something that happened. Right. Like, here's something that happened, and what did I think, and what am I thinking now that I'm distant from it, and what might you be thinking? It's a real invitation.
Yeah, and I think that's what it makes it. I left it more rough than a well-polished machine, right? Because I want it to be relatable. I want it to be where somebody can understand it. I don't want it to be institutional jargon. I want it to tell my story so people can relate to it, and then be able to have that conversation and just really help with that self-reflection.
And tell a little bit about how your wife factors into the book and your story.
Yeah, so my wife, Bonnie, we got married in 2017. We've been together. She was a domestic abuse survivor. Her story, I thought, was really important to put into the book. We wrote that when there was a friend of hers that did a domestic abuse story. So we helped her type it up and write it, and we ended up doing a big expose for domestic abuse, and then I felt it should be in here to kind of represent the kind of the bridge between the book and the podcast. My wife was my first kind of interview telling her story, but it was her telling her story, which I felt was a great kind of start to that transition.
So let's talk a lot about the podcast. You have a great voice, and I think it's, podcasts are a little bit different because the person you're listening to is right inside your head. It's almost like a conversation, and I find it pretty inspirational. And so tell us, like, I want to talk about one of your latest one, but like, who's going to be you're going to have guests on there. Some of them are going to be standalone, correct?
Yep. Yeah, so right now it's standalone, a lot of Zoom meetings, and eventually I wouldn't mind doing a small group, kind of something like this, where you have a panel, you have a conversation, and, kind of tell stories. And I think it's no different than grandma and your grandpa's telling stories with his buddies, and it's kind of just a different waveform of, now it's just you're doing it via headpiece and a camera versus sitting at the dinner table with a bunch of people just telling stories.
Yeah. So, for example, one of your podcasts, the latest one, is Hillary Momberger Powers. To me, that's kind of cool because she was the voice of Sally on Charlie Brown.
Yeah, and she was a great guest. You could tell she very professional, came in and had a great conversation. I usually will kind of preface some questions, kind of like you guys do, have a conversation, and then to see where it goes. Whether I use one question or 25, it kind of depends on the person to help kind of guide it. And we have had great conversation, and we both kind of, her trauma is a little bit different than mine. She had kind of, her mom kind of pushed her into fame, and it created a lot of like pain for her later in life, and so it's different, but it's still kind of, it all still kind of compares, right?
Absolutely, and like the interview, it does, which was very interesting, and it get a different perspective with, childhood fame, getting, she was the meal ticket for her mom, and what that was like. But then there's also ones that people can relate to, like she talks about why fear creates a false version of who we are, and about just being an overachiever because a moving target, doesn't get hit.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people who've been through trauma, they cope in certain ways, and some people do it with addiction and drugs, and some people kind of have that I have to work, and kind of keep that mind busy. I've always had a 9 to 5, and then I've always had a 5 to 9, something after that to try to do something, and then eventually I'm kind of like, is that what I want to do? And never really stop and kind of come back and reflect, and having these conversations with people like Hillary, and seeing that I'm not the only one who kind of has that busy body, so I don't have to think about the past, and that is kind of crazy, but it's just to me, I think it means a lot, and that, like I said, no one is normal, and everybody's got some stuff they're working through, and hopefully we can work through it, and I'll be better.
That seems to connect closely, and again, I'll go back to early on in your story. This sentence there, like, we moved around, right? A lot.
Yep.
I'm like, well, no people move around. But then you get into it, and it is just like, then we move here and here and here, and you're talking about movement emotionally and intellectually to avoid facing certain things. And this movement was, just your mom avoiding some things as well. And it's interesting, that parallel, and it just struck me now as you were talking about it.
Well, I don't think my mom was avoiding anything. I think more of it was.
Well, sometimes just physically being present with it, like, we got to get out of here, that sort of thing.
A lot of it was just being in a single parent and not having child support. So we moved around a lot trying to find being able to afford things. And I always had a roof on my head. I always had food on the table, and I always had great support. So I always had that from my mother. She'd been always great. My stepdad came in a little bit later in my life, in my late teens, but he became the father figure, and that's probably the best thing that's ever happened.
Because you were going down kind of
I was
going
down
down a sketchy road.
A little bit of a slope with roller skates on, right? So trying to do the best I can.
Yeah, yeah. We have a lot of our guests are writers. We're writers. We have a lot of our viewers who are writers as well. Can we just talk about the nuts and bolts of nuts and bolts, both of them,
okay,
of your
if we have time,
self-publishing journey?
We may just get to the bolts.
You had a pile of journals. I don't know whether you do it on the keyboard or in notebooks or both or whatever, but you end up with just and we're familiar with this. Like, hey, maybe this is a book. How do you go from that to this, which is a beautiful book? What was your process like in self-publishing?
Just started writing the short stories, and then as they accumulated, I'm like, okay, this is starting to do something, and I had to kind of then put everything together, so it kind of created a little bit of a flow in a sense, because my wife's is pretty chronological. Mine's more spotted and kind of tells different stories based off of times in my life, so it was kind of hard to chronologically put it as in some aspects, but tried the best I could to kind of create an overall summation. But yeah, it was fun. Started to, of course, Word documents, typing and putting everything together, and then ended up using Reedsy to put everything together. Did a lot of the editing myself. Used I think Grammarly to kind of help me with some of the sentence structure. Then did all the artwork for the book. Did everything from scratch pretty much.
So you did the cover yourself?
Yep. The picture was generated, of course, AI, but I did everything else. I just wanted to have a nice sunset, because I should change that. It's a sunrise or a sunset, depending on how you look at it, right?
Both are good, right? New day or peaceful.
Day is finally done. I can actually rest my head,
peace,
right?
Yeah. Can you tell me, I'm interested in that Reedsy, because there's different places to self-publish your book. You can go through Amazon, you can go through Draft to Digital. There's other places, Ingram. So what was the process of Reedsy like? Why did you decide that Reedsy?
Yep. So Reedsy for me was just to get it into book form, but then I did go through Amazon, through what are the other ones?
Barnes and Noble and stuff.
Yeah, it's all through. Now I'm thinking. Now I'm drawing a blank, but through the other platforms yet. Amazon.
Well, and there's a way too. Like, you can publish just through Kindle Direct, and then somehow it gets to all these other platforms as well.
Yeah. Yep. So that's what it went through, and then for the
It's magic, Tom. It's magic.
Poof, magic.
Probably stealing, but
no, same thing for the kind of the audio book. It basically, you put it on that platform goes to kind of everywhere else. The same with like podcasts and Spotify. You put it on Spotify, it'll go to Apple and everything else as long as you allow it. So publishing now, probably, and having a book and being self-published, it's not fun. It's a little out of work, but it's definitely a lot easier probably now than what it used to be.
Oh yes, even just formatting and getting the margins straight and all that, things like that. So did you always want to make sure that you did it in all these formats? Because you have a hardcover, a soft cover, you have an ebook and the audio.
Yeah, I wanted it as accessible as I can. I don't have Braille, but I'm trying to at least get it to where everybody can at least either hear it or read it if they can.
Sure. So you recorded the audio book yourself
Yep.
at home,
Yep.
and then put that out through
ACX.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. That's impressive. 'Cause if I,
Really, it's
if
amazing.
I tried to read my own book, I'd have to. I'd get about 3 sentences before
Yeah.
I delete
Now,
it.
what I should have said was,
Or even just not stumbling and misreading my own stuff.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of cuts. I have a little bit of a stammer, a little bit of a stutter, and you might hear it when I'm a little more live in the podcast, and it's just what makes me me. I
Sure.
try my best to not do that, but it's just I'm here. I am. It's as best as I can do, and if it bothers somebody, I apologize, but I'm gonna do what I can.
And for the podcast wise, about developing that, because everybody wants a podcast nowadays. I want to do a podcast. You seem to be doing it right. You have like a service to find your guests, and otherwise it's just some of them you do through Zoom.
Yeah, I do a lot of them through Zoom. I'm doing it right now from my home office, so I don't have a lot of space like this. So a lot of it is Zoom, and then basically kind of like how you guys have video cuts. I can take the Zoom and I can zoom in on both images and have that as a separate screen, so it works pretty good.
How do you get good audio out of Zoom?
I have my personal mic that I use,
Yeah,
and then actually their audio, Zoom has probably the better sound quality as it comes out.
Oh, see, you're got your nice microphone. That's the easy part. It's then the disparity between yourself and then your person on Zoom.
That is hard, but it's
pretty good.
expected in a podcast to have that, because you can't control what people have for their end. All you can do is try to, like, I'll change my volume to their volume to make sure that it's not loud and make sure that it clips. And,
sure. Well, that takes some expertise and experience for sure.
First time doing it, so I'm doing the best I can.
So, all right, we've gotten you to the point where you've published your book. It's beautiful. You're happy with it. What happened then? What's been the reception of your book? What have you heard? What's surprised you about how your work has gone out into the world?
Yeah, a lot of people have a lot of good things to say about it. One, I'm putting myself out there. A lot of people are like, I couldn't do that. Well,
no, of course.
If you don't want to, don't feel comfortable. I got thick skin, and if people are going to judge me for it, so be it, But for me, it's not about me and not about really the person who's judging me. It's about the person who's reading it, potentially trying to change their life.
Were there any surprises, like you accounted for this? Somebody might be upset I shared this about myself, about my family, and then but you didn't. But what about this? And you're like, I didn't even think about that.
But you did clear everything with your wife first, right?
That was a surprise, right? So
I'm
still sleeping in the garage.
This is what I've been doing.
Right. I need signed and triplicate that you're good with this.
Before you respond too, like I'm a believer in the logic of, if you didn't want to be in my book bashing you should have treated me better.
Yeah.
And I'm entitled to my story, but.
So I made it so that I didn't use names or I used the stories, right? It was he, she, kept it kind of more personal or non-personal besides my wife, Bonnie. Because when her story kind of ties, at the end, it kind of ties both of us together when we kind of built our lives together based off of my past, her past, and we both got over some changes and stuff we had to get over to be happy together.
Yeah, her story is terrifying in so many ways, and that, when you're talking about piece of writing, that's a good thing. I was involved, I felt it, and that's, what you and she have done, especially with that last, whatever it is, 25% of the book, is it's just brilliant writing. It really is.
And I think the big thing for her, and kind of going back, and I told her I was going to say this, so she knows this. But when we first met, the amount of nightmares and night terrors she had, and how many times I had to kind of grab her close to get her through that, it was a lot. Like almost nightly, probably, I think probably a couple years of that, and
goodness.
it finally she's not doing that, not punching me in her sleep, but no, I'm just kidding.
Just
But-
waking hours.
She's finally through a lot of this too, and talking about. She's had to reread her story too, and that was very hard for her, especially when we're
Yes.
doing the edits and everything else. So it took a lot of courage for her just to reread her story after we talked about it, and it's been out there, you know.
And I think too, there is something to that. Write poetry, and advise people to do poetry, because to me, when you're taking that, it almost, you separate yourself from it, and you're like, you're making it into art, you're making it into something beautiful. You're kind of taking the power away, because instead of events, you're turning it into clay.
Yep.
To make your art.
That is actually how I started writing, with poetry. A lot of self-reflection. I was 6th, 7th grade starting to write poetry. I read some when I was in literature class and in like 6th, 7th grade, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice. And then you can kind of you use your brain to kind of rhyme things and put things into kind of mnemonics, and you have this ability to kind of create something from nothing, and a lot of it's from a raw emotion that you're trying to let out.
And that's how you make sense of things as well. You're doing the process and you're trying to get it right, you're trying to get the form and the rhythm and the right word. Your brain starts going from what's going on in my conscious to, oh, this relates to this thing in my subconscious that I'm not even aware of, and it pulls it up and it combines them together and brings it to light.
I think also critical is the finding of the voice, and you were very young, searching kind of for an authentic way for all of that in your head to just come out, and yeah, the poetry at a young age. That's talk about yourself as a young reader, as a writer. Were you into like song lyrics? Were you into adventure stories? Did you read What were you reading as a kid?
Yeah, a lot of adventure stories, kind of role playing type things, where you get to watch people kind of go through their journeys, and just any chance I could. Like I did also like the typical kid thing, like the Garfield, the Peanuts, and reading all the comics to kind of help break up the
classics,
Yeah. Well,
Dickens, Garfield.
the long wind to the short wind, right?
Right, exactly. No, it's all part of it. And some of the, we talked about Peanuts already, sadly, but those characters, they're profoundly important, to so many people. And they're such great stories, and that's why they've survived. That's why they've been so popular, because the characters are real and we can see ourselves in them.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at it, and looking back now at some of the stuff you watch, and especially like cartoons and stuff, and you're like, how is that allowed? You don't even realize.
I get that from my own writing. How is that allowed? But definitely back then, some things don't age that well on cartoons. Right. So you had the podcast, you had the book. What is on the horizon for you? What are your next projects? What are you hoping to do in the future?
I think kind of nurturing the podcast. I'm hoping to have season 1 will be wrapped up at the end of the year.
How many episodes do you see for season 1?
Because
there are already a lot in the
52,
can.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna probably go the full gamut. I think most TV, like everything else, like 20 something.
Yeah.
Have you
now
been
it's
doing
10,
it
8 maybe.
religiously once a week?
Yep.
For 52.
Yeah, I got Wednesday nights I record, and then Saturdays I record for an hour, and then I'll do the editing. Saturday we'll eating and not trying to sleep, and then I get everything up and running. And yeah, the good thing is once you do the first couple and you get templates.
But still, there's still the editing and just the hour there, and.
Oh yeah. But it to me it's important. I think.
Yes,
like
definitely.
I said, if it helps just one person, that's really.
And do you feel like the podcast is reaching people? You feel you've gotten feedback on that?
Yeah, it's starting to really pick up. I'm getting on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, so I'm starting to see a lot of kind of traction upwards.
I don't want to brag, but I had 7 listens to my most recent podcast.
That was all me. Sorry.
Repeat.
No, I mean, yeah, it's amazing.
He put it every night. He just puts it on, so he has something to fall asleep to.
That's good. Yeah, the podcast sites, they give you the analytics, they give you trends, they give you all that. It's a really it kind of feeds the hobby.
Yeah, and you get to see kind of where it is. I'm not much higher than you, but it's still continually.
Well, you have something to shoot for there.
To grow, yeah. 8 or 9 will be great, right?
And we've been doing this show for like
100 years.
Yeah. And I can slowly see finally on YouTube where it is building up, and then you do, they get hooked on your number 51, and then they can go back and start to listen to the other ones.
Yeah, and that's the joys of the algorithm, right?
Yes.
Sure.
You got to pray to the algorithm. You're like, okay, don't put me in the wastebasket and online,
Right.
Yes.
Right. So you've written poetry.
Yep.
You've written these memoir-ish short stories. Do you see? Does writing is still happening? Are you going to write one of those RPG type fantasy stories? Do you have things coming out?
I do have a fiction I'm thinking about, but I'm going to keep that kind of real
Good.
close to the vest because.
So fiction's next, like the character that's in a different world.
No, it's going to be kind of taking.
I know you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it where.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a superstition about it.
Yeah,
Of
so
course.
there is a character who gets opportunity to kind of right wrongs, right? So that's kind of looking at that. I am looking at possibly doing a leadership book. I've been a management leader for 15 years, so I love coaching and mentoring, and anything I can do to kind of help people.
Good.
Kind of been my forte.
Good.
Yes. As we wrap up now, why don't you tell our viewers where they can find you and how they can contact you, maybe like social media and stuff like that.
So yeah, most everything is on the website. It's bradhhill.com or nooneisnormal.co. Everything is on there. It's got episodes of the podcast. It's got the hardcover, softcover. It's got the audio book, the ebook. And then there's also some self-help on there where if somebody needs to have a conversation, it's got a bunch of valuable sites for people to be able to call if they're in kind of a crisis, just to make sure that that's forefront and just trying to help people.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for coming on, and
Thanks.
I believe even just your bravery to tell your story is helpful, because when people have gone through trauma and hardships, it seems like such a secret, and it's such a heavy thing to carry, and it gets light, like you told us, it gets lighter when you're able to share it, and so hopefully other people can do that and free themselves. So thank you for coming on today.
Thank
Brad.
you so much, and thank you for writing this an amazing book. It's a very important book in so many ways, and I was about to say enjoyable, but it's certainly not. But it's so important and so valuable. It's an important book. I really liked it.
Yeah, and I'm just going to leave with this. You were never meant to be normal. You were meant to be you.
And we'll end there. Thank you for tuning in to Author Showcase of Oshkosh with your hosts, Dixie Joe Jarko, Bill Gillard, and Thomas Cannon. We'd love to hear from you, whether you're interested in being a guest on the show, have a question, or want to share your thoughts. Please reach out to us on social media or via email at oshkoshauthorshowcase@gmail.com.